Buenos días. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome. It's really good to see a lot of people for this event that we make a good effort, all of us. First of all, thank you all my team. I'm Borja and I want to start with a question. Have any of you ever had this idea, not about business, but in general, that you think it was good, but you never worked towards because you were scared, you were not sure about the results of it? I can be in that position. So that's how we came up with this idea for this project. Sometimes we just have good ideas, but we just don't want to take a shot for them because we are just scared, or we don't have the knowledge, or we don't even have the experience. So we wanted to bring here two amazing speakers so they can present us how they take risks, how they assume some possible failures in order to get incredible benefits and incredible successful. So that's why we're here in Braving Business. Welcome everyone. Now my friend Roman has something to say about uncertainty.
Thanks, mate. So, risk-taking in times of uncertainty is the most relevant subject today due to, indeed, times of uncertainty. Inflation running in decade highs, looming recession in Europe, energy crisis, and enormous corrections in different instruments happening almost daily. But we live today, and I say, don't pause your life, don't forget the dreams or goals you set for yourself, because if you post those today, that can be potentially indefinitely. And living life without taking chances due to fear, doubt, or some else negative emotion is a wrong strategy for life, I would argue. Which doesn't mean that you should or need to run and take every possible risk you can. No. Risks need to be assessed and risk-taking needs to be done wisely. That's why we invited our prominently brilliant and experienced speakers to share their respective journeys with you all today, in the hopes that they would inspire you to go beyond your fear into that ungentle unknown. Or, perhaps even more importantly, that you would learn how to take risks wisely. So, as I said, without further postponement, our amazing speaker host team leader Grant will introduce our first speaker, who we are so honored to have with us today.
I just want to thank Roman. Our team has worked really, really hard this past month in order to make this event happen. So we hope you enjoy your time today and hope you'll learn something that you can take towards your future careers. And just again, a really warm welcome. We really appreciate you to make your time and come here. And without further ado, starting off with our opening speaker, he's a man of many talents. He is a Finnish business executive and a keynote speaker who specializes in business development, sales, and marketing. He is the current CEO of the Selfie Store and the former CEO of the Nordic Business Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Aslak de Silva.
Great, how are we doing today? After this first exercise, I think even better. Has any of you heard me speak anywhere? So this might come as a surprise. I first have said I'm not joking. I give you three options. I'm gonna do 50 push-ups. You can follow me to do 50 push-ups. You can do 50 squats. I understand that this is not probably the best place to do push-ups. You can do 50 squats. Or if you don't dare to do either of those, then you can just stand up and shout your lungs out and clap for those who do the 50 push-ups. Let's go. Okay, good. Was that great? No, that was smart, because business executives don't have time to train, so they travel, so get a little exercise is good. but also maybe for you to get some energy there. But hey, I'm sharing stories today, so I'm trying to be as open and honest as I can be. If you have any questions, I'll be able to answer those later on. But I'm going to talk about failures and setbacks as learning points today, and talking about my personal experiences from the work life that I've done. But before I can go to that, so probably some things that I feel that I've succeeded in life, some accomplishments. First, there, me with white hair. I was blonde. I dyed my hair blonde. So I trained martial arts. I started when I was 12 and became world champion in this particular martial art in the USA in the year 2000, so a couple of years back. So that was, of course, is one accomplishment. I talk a lot about martial arts, what I've learned from the principles, and you'll be hearing those a lot. Then, yeah, I was the CEO of Nordic Business Forum and just changed this year to self-restore. I had a dream, I do keynote speaking, I had a dream before that someday I would speak on the stage of Nordic Business Forum. I did that, but I thought that as a speaker, I was a CEO at that time, so opening speech there in 2018. That's sometimes funny in life. You say something out loud as a goal, but it's actually coming as a different way that you thought. So I did speak at Nordic Business Forum stage, so I have accomplished that, but I still want to be some speaker who's recognized for something different, unlike at Nordic Business Forum though. Winners Mindset is a book that was published about a year ago on Amazon and in the US in different bookstores there. I was one of the co-authors there. We were 33 co-authors sharing our thoughts of what does it take to become a winner. And that book actually was on Amazon Kindle, #1 bestseller in 3 different business categories. So that was an achievement. I didn't do it alone, but again, teamwork, as what we are doing here, pays off sometimes. But then maybe more proud of things, regardless of investing a lot of time in me and in my passions. So I do have a family. My wife and I've been married for 15 years, and for some reason I had a dream always that I would have 2 daughters, and I'm happy to have 2 daughters, 11 and 5, and they are the best girls in the world to me. But I had that dream as well as a goal in life for some reason, I don't know why. I always pictured this, no Volvo, no dog, but I had the dream of getting married and having 2 kids. Before Corona, I was with my friends. I had one dream as well. I lived in 2006 in Dublin and working for Bailey's, so for some reason I love running high hills. And close to Dublin there's a Guinness Lake, and there are high hills there. So I had a dream that before I turn 40, I will run the hills of Guinness Lake by touching the lake and then running up. And when I'm turning 14, so I'm born on the 18th of March and the 17th of March. Does anybody know the day called St. Patrick's Day? So there's a huge party in Ireland. So I knew that. So we went with friends. We were totally 25, not all made to that running exercise, but we went there and did that. Have to say that we didn't dare to touch the Guinness Lake. It was so steep in the hill there, so we thought that we would die if we go that extra meter, but we almost breathed that. And while I was studying actually, so doing martial arts at the same time, so I injured myself a couple of times, and the doctor said that if I break my hand for the 3rd time, so I will not be able to write with my right hand anymore. So I was at school at that time. My mothers tend to be sometimes smart, told me that you cannot only invest in martial arts career, that if something happens, you have nothing. So I was there at school and thinking what the doctor said and having a cast in my hand and thought that if I write the best thesis of Gothenburg Business School, Gothenburg University, that's something that I can take with me and show that I'm different. And I put that as a goal, and I was lucky enough to manage that, but then when I graduated with my master's degree from Gothenburg University, I graduated with the Best Thesis Award. But there's a lot behind. Let's go in why were all these possible. Well, let's start with the story. This is a few years back, as you might imagine, and we are taking pictures for calendar that we can sell. And the really hard part before we had all these great cameras and everything, that there's kind of no photo editing in a good way. You will immediately see if we edit the photo. And we thought that let's take this picture. It's super hard to kick in a way that if you kick normally and leave your leg straight. So a lot of these good pictures were ruined because I had my leg bent. The second part is hard to kind of jump in the air if you're not kicking the other one. So I'm basically kicking Seppo here with full power, of course, trying to control so that we can get it realistic. So of course Seppo can't take too many kicks. Does anybody see there's one mistake in the picture that I do? If any one of you has ever trained martial arts, that's crucial, that's gonna hurt me in the fight. All the martial arts experts thinking. You see my thumb is up. And I really hate it when my master always said that, hey, why don't you keep your thumb in fist? Why is it important? Because now if somebody attacks me and I have my thumb up, and somebody kicks or hits me in my thumb, it hurts. And I always said that, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can fix it when the real fight comes. But every time after the fight was done, so often I had my thumbs were aching, and I was wondering why before I saw this picture. So when everything is there, I'm concentrating on all the things around, I miss to concentrate on my thumb. And that's a mistake that will hurt. And that's what I'm talking about. If you can start correcting these little mistakes a bit by bit, then you actually get to the level where it doesn't matter what you do, because every day you'll be better. I'll come back to that. But quoting a couple of times Bruce Lee here today as well, but when we think about like what you can do, so of course knowing is one thing that I'm trying to hopefully inspire you, if nothing else, to do 50 push-ups every day before you start school. But one thing is then to apply. Willingness is not enough, we must do. So if you can follow that principle that Bruce Lee there said, so you are going far. But let's go then more on the learning side. So of course, martial arts is very comprehensive. You fight, I have about 100 full combat fights, and each time you go to the fight, you need to prepare yourself. The huge difference between many of us with martial arts is that you need to fight the demons before you go to the fight. So you train and think what's going to happen. Sometimes you feel afraid when you go there, but you have to deal with those emotions before. You know what are your weaknesses, so you try to prepare yourself in a way that you're not be used against those weaknesses. The super hard part is that when you've done everything you can and you still lose. The losing is not as such hard, but the shame is harder. Many times when we lose and we try our best, so the feeling of even, of course, the disappointment, but I'd say the shame. There was one fight that I had in my career when I was fighting, I thought was a super fighter, very strong, and I saw him training. And when I went to the fight, so I was too afraid to attack, and I lost the fight. But during the fight, I knew that he's not that good. I can beat him, but I didn't have that in me. After the fight, I went out, I cried in the locker room and said, I was so ashamed. My friends were watching, I lost the fight. I knew I could have won the fight. I knew that it would have been looking so great, but I couldn't do anything. And then I was so ashamed and so disappointed in me. And then thinking like, why would that happen? And that's a lot to do with like, okay, that happened, does it matter? Things in life happen, how long does it matter? What are you going to do with that information? So from then on, I learned how to train my mind to do at least my best. And that's why I, even now in speaking, I do that 50 push-ups here to get the energy out of me. I know that I'm better speaking when I'm warmed up. I'm better speaking when I kind of get some energy going. So I'm using that information here, even those circumstances that might be something different. I went out so I won the World Championships, and then I moved to, actually first to Norway, and opened up 8 clubs. Then I moved to Sweden, and as you already heard, so my mom insisted that I need to study, so I went to Gothenburg University to study my graduate degree in business. And in Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, I had about 20 clubs. In 2004, I was performing in an event. There were about 2,000 people watching, and I was breaking bricks. And then I broke bricks. There was 8 of these concrete bricks. I broke 5. And the audience was like, is this the trick? So I pulled off the 5 that were broken away and hit the 3. And then I noticed when I got up from there that my bone was up here. So I thought, well, that's dislocated, so I pulled it back. and went on. So everybody came to see that does it hurt, and then I was like, no, it doesn't, and I shake my hand by holding my bone back there because I thought it would pop out again. I went to the doctor said that they don't have x-ray because it was weakened. If it's broken, it hurts so much that you can't bear it. Does it hurt so much? And I was a professional martial arts teacher, so I said, no, it doesn't hurt so much, I'll manage with it. Couple of months further, I was practicing for the second world championships that I was about to enter in Mexico and in super good sparring. And my friend who was also in the team, so kicked and I put my hand there and again pop. And I again look at the bone out there. So I pull it back and think that it's okay. But it hurt so much now that I went to the doctor and doctor took x-rays and said the bone is fully broken. And said that actually, did you know that your bone is broken before? And we can see from the x-ray it's broken. So what did I do? I said, well, I don't have time to put any cast because last time I managed, I will manage now. So I left the place and came back a week later and I said to the doctor that it didn't heal. And the doctor said, well, it doesn't heal. It needs to be casted on it to operate. And then I stayed there, put it back, and then the doctor looked after a few weeks that the bones are there, but there's a high risk that you will never hit full power with the hand. So you cannot train martial arts anymore, you cannot fight anymore, and there's a high risk that if you teach, it can pop out and it breaks again, so you cannot teach anymore. So put everything in my life since I was 12 years old, and I was 27 at that time, kind of reaching my targets, but I had to make the decision that I have to stop. I have to start over. I had no work experience in anywhere else than teaching martial arts, except for 1 month I was actually telesales and selling magazines, which I wasn't really good at. But I was graduated with the best thesis award, with literally almost no work experience, and that's where I had to start to work and stop the martial arts. Sometimes the goals that are there, they are not achievable, and the purpose of that is not to actually achieve. I moved to Ireland in 2006. I don't know if any of you follow martial arts, so Conor McGregor at that time was in Dublin as well. Mixed martial arts, one of the most famous in the world. I almost went to the gym to train and thought that the doctor is wrong. But I held the handle there in my hand and then decided, well, does it even matter if the doctor is wrong? I can make another career. But having that ambition had told me that I can start from the scratch. So I started from some jobs with being in actually the only job that I first got was in a telecenter because I speak many languages. I spoke Finnish, English, Swedish and Norwegian in a way that I can be in a help desk. And later on when I moved to Finland, so I applied for more than 200 jobs and got one job in commission-based telesales only. And so I had nothing else. But that's when I then thought that let's start to build my career with it. So coming back to Finland, so with my now wife, that time my girlfriend, so we decided to move back to Finland, and so I went for Media Planet. And Media Planet is basically a strong sales organization. I wasn't good at it. I had hated telesales before. When I did that 1 month in a summer job, I couldn't stay there for longer because I felt that that's not working. But there I was. I had to live myself and get enough money to actually pay rent and later on buy an apartment. There at that moment I decided that sales is easy because it's with people. It's the same as martial arts. That when you go to a fight and look the opponent in the eye, you will have a mental battle there who will win. So I used the same principles. I then thought that, okay, if I'm not today good at sales, what do I need to do? I need to start practicing how to do sales. I need to learn from better ones. So I went for all the courses, I read all the possible books, put extra hours in sales. What I noticed as well was that people tend to have this, that if you are asked to call 15 calls per day, you call 12. So I said that if you need to call 15, why don't I call 20? And I thought that because I will anyways be so bad that in order to get that 12 good ones, I need to call 20 calls. So I'm sure that I will miss. And with repetition and all that, so I started to build better and better. In 8 months, I was then promoted to lead the whole organization in Finland. I had 20 reporters reporting to me. And this Media Planet is about content marketing and building this kind of advertising paper. So I kind of learned at the same time, not only to do sales, but I also learned from these marketing stories. And that was then a great moment for me to understand that this is actually something that's happening also in marketing. actually have bigger mistakes than theirs, so I will leave those mistakes out. But if you have the time during the break, you can ask me what were the mistakes. The first mistake that actually almost ruined my professional life was to my former boss came back and said that he was promoted before me when I came to country manager of Finland, so he was promoted to be lead several countries. And then he came back to me and said that actually he has to give me two options. I will stay there in Finland but become a sales director, or I will leave the company. And then I was I had so strong self-belief that I thought that I will never go down, I will always go up. So that I can leave the company, that's fine, give me the money that you want to pay, and I'm fine. Then I found another company that was doing exactly the same with online videos, doing content marketing. Think about it. You have videos which are kind of representing nice stories about products or services that can be sold. So basically influencer marketing that's there today. Only problem was that in 2009 there was no influencer marketer. So when we made these videos, so we thought that we can sell to that, and I trusted that the other founder said that he can make the audience for the videos, and I said I can do the sales. The best videos had 1,000 views, and if you sell with 5 to 10 years per 1,000 views, so each video we made 5 to 10 euros. That's not business. Our dreams were, as it is today, to make hundreds of thousands per view, so make maybe 500 to thousands of euros per video, and that was not reality. In 6 months, that was gone. So there was I. So I was in a good career in about 4 years after my graduation, leading a company of 20 people, being country manager, and out of job in Finland in heavy recession. Starting over, saying that I've done this, but I have failed twice. And then when people ask me that why did I leave Media Planet, so if I said that I left because I thought I can do online video business, and how did it go? It didn't go well. Lucky for me that I had made some impression with Media Planet, and since it was a Swedish company, so I got a call from a company called Email Mission and said that they are coming to Finland. Since I speak Swedish and I know people in Sweden, so why wouldn't you come here? So I was selling email marketing, so marketing automation tools in Finland for a while. Bad for me that after a year the company decided that they are not going to have an office in Finland, that I would need to move to Sweden. And my wife said that she doesn't want to live in Sweden anymore. So then had to quit the job. Lucky for me, Sanoma was looking for somebody who had worked with companies like Groupon and others. So then I was applying for a position in business development. And then saying that I understand how the business is done in big scale, so I got a job as a business developer, not in sales or marketing, but just like understanding what kind of companies Sanoma should be buying and building those things. I was working a lot with strategy. Bad for me, I suck at strategy. I suck at PowerPoints. So actually, in 6 months, when the last day of my probation period, I got fired because I was so poor at my job. Wasn't anything that I didn't know what to do, but basically I knew, but I just couldn't put it on paper. I couldn't write long theses on those kind of things. And but I was lucky enough that I have made some network and say that I want to do sales. So then Sanoma, there was one sales director who said that he doesn't have a sales position, but he believes that I can do sales. So he hired me in another team. I went when I got fired, so I walked downstairs and said that I don't have a job, would you hire me? He hired me on the spot to do sales in Sanoma, but that time I couldn't start with sales first, so I had to work with the CRM team, so kind of building the systems for salespeople for a couple of months. But the learning, what I kind of want for you to take as well, that it's okay to be knocked down. It's okay to understand that some things you're not good at. I wasn't, and I'm still not good with strategy or building PowerPoint slides or talking to people and combining together and then presenting the same thing back in writing. I can do it in speaking, but not in writing. But then you need to ask yourself, like, what was it that I wasn't good at, what was I good at with, and just get up and move forward. I still learned a lot with that part. I also know that that's something that when I now work in roles, so I'm not the one who's doing those things. Somebody else will do those. So again, lucky me. Kauppalehti was looking for a sales team manager, and I had learned in my previous life in those positions, and also starting from the bottom myself, that I just felt that if people are valued, they will do a good job. And I had background in sales, leading sales teams, and Kauppalehti then hired me for sales team manager. They gave me the poorest team possible. They gave me people who were not digital ready at all, those who are going to retire in 3 to 5 years. And they they had been mistreated in the company. For the first 2 months, I just worked with them and said that, hey, come on, we are in the same situation. I'm here, kind of nobody likes me either. I'm a new person. Well, let's just every day do what we can do. And that time, actually, the media sales was dropping hardly. And my team in that year, we actually increased our sales by 15%. By only kind of giving value to each other and just doing every day what we could do. We had no pressure on targets. We were just watching and saying that, what can I do today? Just do that and move on. No stress. We knew that nobody valued us. Because of that results, then Keski-Suomalainen was looking for a sales director. And it started kind of as a joke. My father-in-law said that here's a position that he would apply. I said that don't apply, I'll apply and get that job and we'll move back to Jyväskylä. We had small kids, so it would be nice to be close to the grandparents. And a job became reality, and it actually then ended up me getting the position. Not succeeding the way I wanted to, but getting new experiences for leading sales. One day I had high fever, and the CEO of Keski-Suomalainen Group, Vesa-Pekka Kangaskorpi, called me and said that we are going to buy a company, but we need to send a trusted person to actually be living there in Helsinki. And I had said yes. I denied to my wife later on that I didn't say yes, but we checked my phone and that I had actually talked with Vesa-Pekka Kangaskorpi and said yes. So I had agreed to move to Helsinki, and there we were. And coming back to Helsinki, then taking on the national sales for Keski-Suomalainen company with new people in, and trying to reach that. But then I've been at Kasvu Open Spara. This is kind of for companies where they get free sparring. So I've been there for now actually 10 years, giving free time, free advice for companies. And one of the winners is Naava, and I always said in those moments when you kind of representing yourself as Spara, what do you do? So I said that I never believe in services or products. It's always about sales and marketing if you break it or make it. Then the co-founder Aki called me and said that you always say this, that sales and marketing is doing, can you come and show how it's done? So then I had no chance, so he was challenging me. I liked the company. I thought that this will be something that I'm going to do. So I took the sales and marketing leadership role at Naava. We were working in Finland, Sweden, and then opening up US, and then later on Korea as well. For me, it meant a lot to do sales and marketing in the US. That was something that I felt that, hey, if I can do this, I will succeed. And we did that. We actually went to the US. I remember we closed the deal with Goldman Sachs there on kind of almost Wall Street locations, and I lived the big dream there. And then once I came back from my New York trip, and I got a call from the top sales guy of the salesperson in the company saying that she's gonna quit. And I was like, what? Why are you gonna quit? She said that you're never around, and she doesn't believe that what's gonna happen. And they had talked with the team that there were salespeople in Jyväskylä and in Helsinki that they just don't buy what I'm talking about. And this is harder, and this is not gonna succeed. So that was Saturday. On Sunday we met at an ABC, the best location to have meetings during the weekend. And I sat down with her and said that I'm talking to her about that, and I noticed that I have totally failed the team. Even though I valued the team, I had shown value for other teams. So I was helping the new markets. I was a lot in the US and spending a lot of time, and they felt that I was leaving them alone. We had ambitious targets, and they didn't believe that they can reach, and I was not there to help. So I thought at that time that, hey, wait a minute, whose fault is this? Whose fault was that? Is it the leader or the person who's not succeeding? Who agrees that it was the leader's fault? Who thinks it's the person who didn't? Who wants to do other 50 push-ups since didn't say? Well, often in these cases, which is true, that the leader has failed. So I noticed that I told her that, what if I leave the company? Would you stay? And she said that she might stay. I said, I'm willing to take the risk because I cannot fix this anyways. I cannot ever win the trust. It will take time, there's no time. And I, on that spot, I then called the CEO and said that I resign. And that's something that that felt bad to go for the risk, but I knew that that was the right call because I had really failed in my position. So coming back to Bruce Lee as well, that often it's the hardest part is to admit the mistake, but if you can admit it, then you can do something about it. It's about the courage to actually understand that here I made a mistake, I did wrong, I'm accountable, but then the question is what next? So again, a joke became reality. Somehow in my life, jokes become reality. In 2017, I was at Nordic Business Forum. I was a customer of Nordic Business Forum. I love the concept and still go there every year, even if not in the company. So they had a screen during the break saying that they're looking for a new CEO. I remember I was standing next to my friend and we were looking at the screen and he said to me, "That's your position." And I said that, "No way, I'm happy with Nava." Even a headhunter called me that fall and said that, "Hey, would you be interested in taking part in the process because you would fit the profile. You're a super fan of Nordic Business Forum." And I told her as well that no, I'll work with Nava. But then in February or January, then when I came back from the US, so Sunday I resigned. So Monday I called Hans-Peter Schiff and I said that, "Are you still looking for the new CEO? I'm available if you are." The problem was that they were far away, already far ahead with the recruitment. So they said that they have already the final candidates and they're talking with the board. And then I was like, well, I know this is a lot to ask, but take me in for that because you will not find a person who's more passionate about the product than it is. And lucky for me, I got in the process and got the position. So there I was, CEO of Nordic Business Forum. I lived in Helsinki. We had a house in Jyväskylä that we had rented to my friend's family, which was unfortunately there was a breakup and there were 4 kids. Each of them needed a room and they said that since you have such a lovely house, would you be able to rent the house? So we had rented the house already for the family from 2016 and they were happily living there. They noticed that I got the position at Nordic Business Forum, that the headquarters is in Jyväskylä. They asked, are we going back to take their home? And then we said no. Wanted to let them live there, it's fine for us and we can find another place. Then we found another house. We were happy to go there. My daughter had just started school. She actually started, the eldest one year before, so she started the school when she was 6. And we moved to an area and there was a school next to it, 300 meters, everything perfect. And even the realtor said that, hey, the school is there, everything is fine. Then I just called randomly the principal and said that we can move now in spring or then in the fall and we'll start the school. And the principal said to me that, no, your daughter cannot come to the school. I said that, come on, there's a law that when a child lives in an area and the school is next to the house, so they get to go to the school. She said that's true, but that only applies for those who start the first grade. Well, I said that she should start the first grade, but she has already started that, but she can then get the position. She said no. The principal said that that's not possible. I got like, what can I do? We just bought the house in Jyväskylä, and what can I do? Then I realized that hey, the same situation can happen to many other families. You move to a new area and your kid is there living and they cannot go to the next school because the school is full. My wife had suffered the same thing when she was going to the second grade. They moved to a new area and she didn't get to the near school. She had to go to another school which was 4 kilometers away. She got bullied and she had no friends, and that's normal because kids play with the ones that you go to school every day and then they're next to the yard and that's it. So we didn't want that to happen to our children. So I called media and said that, hey, I work with the media, this is a situation that what happens in these cases, that somebody moves in and the kids don't actually come and they cannot get any friends because they cannot get to the same school. The media wrote a small piece of it and said that, hey, this is unfair. I was on social media asking for help. I even wrote emails to the mayor of Jyväskylä saying, can't you do anything? I was saying that, come on, if you look at the situation, I'm coming there, my family is coming there, I have a good job, I will be a good taxpayer for that, and that's it. This is how I felt I was doing, but I was pushing it in a way, I got angry in a way. What happened then, unfortunate for me at that time, was then that the media actually picked up the story. I have friends who are journalists on my social media. They were looking at my social media posts. And they actually thought that I was arrogant, and they made a story of like me they changed the storyline in a way that I want to come and I'm actually harassing the principal to give me a spot because I'm a privileged person since I'm going to pay a lot of taxes. Partly true, yes, but not in a way that they wrote about it. So what happened was that it was first all over Keski-Suomalainen, then to Iltalehti, and then even the editor-in-chief wrote an article about saying that I've got everything in my life so easy. When I'm trained martial arts, so I got to train, and I've like got everything in my life is so easy. So I'm a privileged person. So why does this person do this to us? This is corruption, and so big fuss comes about. Of course, personally, it feels really bad. My wife felt super bad since we also got like life threats to our mailbox saying that they're gonna kill us and something, and I was like, that this isn't gonna happen anyways, but it feels bad. That side, so of course I have to overcome that, but I have to go to the team of Nordic Business Forum in a month after starting and saying that, hey, I'm your new CEO, we have met a couple of times, I used to be a customer. A little thing happened, as you can see, that I'm not very liked in this environment at the moment, and in Jyväskylä my reputation is pretty bad, almost in Finland it's pretty bad. But I will honestly tell you the story, and I will honestly tell you why I did what I did. I will tell what I feel that went wrong, and I let you to judge me on the grounds that you are. I had no other chance just to be open and talk about it. I had to do the same with the board. I had to sit outside a board of directors meeting, when they were discussing that, do I did my job, or am I fired on the spot? There's nothing else left than to be vulnerable at that time. And the team didn't fully approve my actions. They told me what they disliked of it. They told me that I cannot present myself as a Nordic Business Forum CEO and take these kind of personal actions and use my status to fix those things. I fully agree. I think it's true that one shouldn't use those kind of status symbols to get something out of something, and I think that's a good lesson to learn for everyone. But we managed to actually come to the grounds that we believe that we can work together, so with the board. And that then built successful events. Until Corona hit. I think you're all aware of that. So the whole business is about arranging events 2 days a year. Has any of you worked with Nordic Business Forum? Well, yes, thanks for that. So 2020 comes and Corona hits and events are gone. No idea how long that's going to be. And based on the experience of being brutally honest, so we used that the same way. So going to the team, we were 35 of us at that time, going to the team and explain that, hey, here's the situation. We have no idea if this is gonna go away or not. We managed to live for the summer until we had to cancel the event. So we had layoffs first because we didn't have money, we couldn't sell any tickets, so we knew that the company will not survive. I was totally honest with the team all the time. Had to downsize from 30 to 35 to 20 people. It was super hard, but I was honest to people, explaining all the time what's the situation, explaining why that person's role is not anymore needed in the company when we are really going to the cockroach model where we only have sales and other things, kind of like only business creative. And we went online. It was a shock for the team, but in a couple of months, the team really picked it up. And if you look at now Nordic Business Forum, so there's these kind of newsletters teaching leaders what to do better. YouTube channel has more than 60,000 subscribers when it had about 15,000 before Corona. Twitter and other activities, there are webinars, there are masterclasses and others. We developed a lot of new business and a lot of new ways for leaders to follow Nordic Business Forum. Previously, it used to be that you were aware of Nordic Business Forum 2 days a year. Now you are very more likely aware of Nordic Business Forum throughout the year. So we did a lot of good things, but it all started with the same thing, that we had to actually go to I said that I have no clue how we're going to survive. These are my best thoughts. Please help me if you have something else. So as a leader, I had to be very vulnerable, that I had to learn. So basically, what we also focused a lot on is that we didn't focus on that, shall we fail? We thought that what would be the best online model of Nordic Business Forum we can provide our customers, and let's aim for that. We have no clue if it's going to work, but let's try our best. Not focusing on the failure if we're going to fail. We all knew, we covered that first, that very likely we are going to fail. And very likely there's not going to be Nordic Business Forum in a couple of years if Corona stays. Luckily, it still is there, and we didn't fail, and the team is still there doing a tremendous job. And in a couple of months back, also at Messukeskus there. Then I got a call last fall and saying that, hey, there's an interesting company called Self-Restore. It's owned by Stora Enso, so a big corporation behind. And they were talking about things that when I'm talking to these business leaders on the trends that are happening. So with Corona, so Volt and others, these kind of home deliveries start to pick up. They said that there's a vending machine that can be something in between. They didn't say that, but I heard it. They said they have a vending machine, which is pretty cool, and there's a good business opportunity. But I started to build this in my head that I can change the future in a bigger scale. I love the Nordic Business Forum thing. I really love being a customer, but then I thought that, hey, here's a bigger thing that can happen. So now the goal is to bring a new verb to world. All of you know if I said that I Ubered myself here, but probably none of you know if I said that I self-lead on the way. Now the goal, the ambitious goal, is to kind of come to the world with the world self-lead. So I will tell if you make it, but that's the ambition level I'm going for. Very light, gonna fail, but it doesn't matter. I feel motivated every day. But last thing that I kind of wanted you to think is this is from the book, a quote from me. It's fun to quote yourself. But the path to success is not about even the wins that you made. It's more about the attitude that you have every day. I'm pretty sure that if you picked up something, so you know that a lot of talking about failures, mistakes, they are equal as for wins. There's always something to take you can do better. In the year 2000, when I won my world championship, I won the final fight with the knockout, so everybody cheering, and I remember getting the medal on my neck and going. And then I was smiling there and with my medal around, talking to my friends who were in the team as well. And then the master came to me and said that, "Why do you have your medal around your neck?" And I said that I'm the world champion. I won. He said, "Yes, but why do you have it now? The fight was 15 minutes ago, or the ceremony was 15 minutes ago." I said, "Well, I feel good." He said, "About what?" Well, I said, I won. I said, "Yeah? Was that all that you remember from the fights?" I said, "Well, winning is great, right?" He said, "There are a couple of mistakes. One being your thumb was often up when you kicked. That can cause you pain in the future, and you might lose the fight." And he said that, "Well, tomorrow 8 a.m. we are training. We have to fix the mistakes you had." And I remember how it felt. I said, "Well, I'm fine. I work with the medal around my neck for 15 more minutes, then I put it in my back and I'll be there 8 a.m. I did that. We were training there 8 a.m. I never won any gold medals after that. A lot of injuries that prevented me from going for big competitions, but I was always better after that day. And that's something that I want to kind of lead to you as well, is that if you think it doesn't matter if you win or lose, it matters what you do every day to become better. There are good things and bad things to learn from. Hopefully you don't need to endure the same things that I have, but likely some of you will in a different level. But the question for you is then what you're going to do with that, what you're going to take and that makes you stronger. I hope that I managed to give you pointers to show that even in those mistakes that might sound trivial to you, you see that how I changed myself by understanding the mistake and what had happened and made myself a better leader. For sure, there'll be more ones, and I'm always afraid that bigger ones coming to my life, but I feel that I'm more prepared than ever to take that in. If nothing else, I can do every day 50 push-ups and still give a keynote. Thank you, but then it's time for questions.
Thank you very much. That was amazing. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If anybody has any questions right now, feel free to ask. Awesome.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was born in Vaajakoski, so that's why I was born, so that's why I went to martial arts, since in the early 90s that was the place where I was the only dark-skinned person with my brother and my father, so I had to train martial arts. But now I live in Haaga-Helia AMK Pasila Campus, so the others. No, what's the good place then? Huhta, so well, that's nice. Never got there. Yeah.
Awesome. Any more questions? I actually,
I guess I'll have one question. I'm talking for the whole audience. If there would, you had a nice presentation about your successes and failures throughout your career. If there would be one thing, if you could summarize for the audience to take away from your speech and presentation, what would it be?
I'd say that learn from whatever comes, success or failure, and just want to become better every day. Each morning I start with learning something new. Why I came here is I know that I'll meet new people that I never met before. Hopefully some of you sent me a LinkedIn invitation with a note saying that I was listening and would be nice to connect. So that's where I get new people that I can learn from and all the time. So I'd say that don't look at the scoreboard, just do your best every day.
awesome. And I actually just have one quick question. I was thinking, since you did so much individual teamwork activities like competitive, and it could apply for people that did teamwork-oriented competitions, how did the losses that you suffered in that transfer over to business losses, like losing jobs and whatnot?
Yeah, but I think they trained a lot. I love competition in a way that not for the sake of who's winning, but what you go mentally through that. So I've learned a lot with those and kind of how to prepare myself. So I think one of the biggest learnings that I understand it's hard for many is that fight the demons before you have to really fight them. So the mentally prepare. So then you have maybe a couple of things that you can do better after the fight. And I mean that I'm calm under stress because I've been in fights where people are trying to knock me out or in actually in a war zone situation as well. So I always think that this is not as bad as it looks like or feels like. So I just try to take the feeling away, focus on the main things there. In a full contact fight, so you cannot start thinking that did I change my underwear in the morning or something. So you kind of are super focused on that, so that's the skill that I picked up from that for sure.
Awesome. Any more questions? No. All right. So thank you very much again. And we are going to have a quick intermission, about 15 minutes. We'll be back at 12:35. Outside we have bulla and coffee for everyone to have. Please take that time to network, talk with other people, use the restroom, whatever you need to do. And at 12:35 we will have our next speaker. Thank you. All right, welcome back everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed all the bulla and coffee and whatever else was out there. We're going to hear a quick word from the sponsor that brought all of that for us, Startup School. So go ahead and take the stage.
All right. And the mic works. Nice. So yeah, my name is David Javonen and I'm from the Startup School. I work as a project manager. Basically, I run the pre-incubator program there. With that, we also in Startup School have all kinds of services for those who have their own business idea or want to somehow implement entrepreneurship for their studies, or for your studies. So we have a platform for that, and actually the next slide probably tells more, that we have counted that you can basically, through us, you can have over 100 credits of your degree by doing all kinds of activities related to entrepreneurship, especially if you have your own business or business idea that you want to move forward with. And with that also, those who speak Finnish, we have the pre-incubator program here in Haaga-Helia, which is 12 weeks program. You get 15 credits, and it's for those who already have their own business, but also for those if you just have an idea, we can take you in and help you out with that. So you get personal coaching, you get all kinds of like help with the development, and also we try to provide also industry contacts for you to further move on with your idea. But for those who don't speak Finnish, we also like to move you to the places where they have English-speaking incubator programs as well, because we are part of the incubator network of Helsinki city. So that's something that if you have business idea, just come by the Startup School and we will be very happy to have you. And there's the email if you want to know more, or you have a business idea, you need any help, contact there. And also if you're interested about other events and other activities, here's the workout for the Instagram. But basically that's it. Thank you for your time.
Well, hello. I just want to thank again the Startup School. We couldn't have done this event without them, so we're really appreciative of what they've done. So let's go run again for Startup School. So guys, I only have one question for you. Are you guys ready for our closing speaker? Yeah, come on, let's go. Yeah. So for our closing speaker, we have an amazing entrepreneur. He has founded 2 of the fastest growing tech companies in the music industry. And also, both of the companies have award-winning software and hardware products. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce EY Entrepreneur of the Year, Darkglass, Castro.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah, awesome. So, let's see if this works. Yeah. So, I'm Doug. I'm Douglas, but everybody calls me Doug. I'll keep this brief. I'll give you like the 5-minute story of how I ended up here. A little bit of advice, but more than me trying to communicate something specific, I'm interested in what you guys want to talk about. So I'll try to leave as much time as possible for Q&A. I enjoy that more. And I also have done a bit of everything. So when you start a company, you usually do everything, and I've done it all except accounting, but engineering, design, recruiting, fundraising, logistics. If you need it in a company that makes products, marketing, sales, I've done it. So I can maybe give you some insight into whatever area you might be interested in. Yeah, so I'm a musician. I'm an electronics engineer. About 15 years ago, when I was in college studying electronics, I started making my own equipment, pedals and amplifiers and things. I played the bass guitar in a metal band, or used to. And that hobby became a company, which I founded in Helsinki in 2010, which was later sold to a really big Japanese group. And that was pretty interesting. After that, I founded another company, also in the music technology space, but trying to incorporate a lot more advanced technology into music products, just trying to make the products that musicians will use in the future now. That's called Neural DSP, and that has grown pretty fast. So in the last 5 years, we've gone from 0 to probably 30 million in revenue this year, from 0 to 150 employees, and things have also changed pretty rapidly there. So as I told you, when you start a company, you do a bit of everything. Right now, I'm running a company of 100 plus people. I basically do one thing, which is making decisions. And that's very actually interesting because you go from doing 10 different things to basically doing one and thinking about one. And the one thing I always think about is how can we grow the fastest at the lowest possible risk? Decision making. So that's Magnus Carlsen, probably the greatest chess player of all time. In this video, he's 10 years old and he's beating 10 people playing chess at the same time without even looking at the boards. I'm not as smart as Magnus, but this is sometimes what it feels like to be making these decisions, because you have to make really high-stake decisions very fast with very incomplete information. And it's super, super tricky. I have a little bit of sort of advice of how I navigate this. Believe it or not, the most important thing is to never be the smartest person in the room. You need to surround yourself with experts who know more about their field than you could ever hope to learn. I always say that if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room, and I really, really live by this. Second thing is talk more than you listen. Sorry, no, that's not the thing to do. It's the opposite. Listen more than you talk, actually. If anything, when I'm in a meeting with all of these experts, if I say something, it's usually asking questions. So sometimes very naive, seemingly stupid questions, just to try to understand what is that they're talking about. You have a very limited amount of time to create a very nuanced mental model of something that you might not know much about. And the decisions you make will actually have a huge impact on the business or something critical. So asking very good questions is super, super important, and it's actually very hard. If anything, I think I've spent the last year or two just trying to hone the skill of how do I ask better questions, how can I get to the bottom of something very complicated that I know very little about in as few questions as possible. And the other thing to remember is that although you might not be the smartest person in the room, if you're in a leadership position, you probably see the entire field, whereas the specialists tend to be a lot more narrow. So your job is to ask really good questions, but then actually connect the dots that very few others can, because you just see the whole playing field. And the last bit, which is about the psychology of this is an extremely uncomfortable position to be in, because everybody looks up to you, you're the person in charge, you're everybody's boss, yet you constantly feel like you're the dumbest person in the room, and that's okay. If anything, it's a good sign. It doesn't feel very good. Just a little bit Greek mythology. This is sometimes what it feels like. And this is a very important thing too. It's very tempting to always try to find the most elegant or a perfect solution, and in a complex world full of danger and peril, actually there are no perfect solutions. Most of the times you just choose between the lesser of two evils. This painting depicts a scene from the Odyssey in which Ulysses has to navigate a very narrow path between Scylla, which is a monster that will eat the sailors one by one, and Charybdis, which is a vortex that will swallow the boat whole. And this depicts very well how it feels, because you basically have to always make a hard choice. In this case, if Ulysses wouldn't be willing to lose a few soldiers, then everybody else would die. And many times, when we think we're avoiding risk, we're actually encountering the biggest risk of all, which is death. Death in business is actually very, very common, and it happens most often once you're in a very comfortable position. Once you're starting out, you have very little to risk. It's very easy to actually take big chances, and that's when few companies actually grow and sort of reach new heights. Once you get comfortable and once you have momentum and once things are actually pretty good, it's so tempting to stay there and to stop taking risks that you actually risk stagnation, and then you end up being disrupted by a competitor, and that's death in business. So you always have to choose between the risk of safety and the risk of actual risk. And in a way, that's my job, is actually to find the perfect amount of safety, risk mitigation, risk taking. For this, I actually have a very simple matrix I made. When I think of a decision, I always try to see where does it score with two criteria. What's the impact of the decision? Are the stakes really high? And how reversible is this decision? So at the bottom left, low stakes decision and is reversible. who cares? You shouldn't probably even be making these decisions. Anyone can make these decisions because if you get it wrong, the stakes are low, who cares? And it's also reversible, so it doesn't matter. If you go for high outcome, high stakes but reversibility, these are actually really good decisions because if you can reverse it, means that you can undo your decision. And if the stakes are high, that means that there's actually high upside. So you have a lot to gain by getting the decision right, and if you get it wrong, you can do it again. On the bottom right, we have low stakes but highly reversible decisions. A good example of these ones, for example, are hiring somebody. So the stakes are actually not that high because hiring a single person in a big organization will not have a huge impact. And if you get it wrong, you can always terminate them within the trial period, for example. But because the impact of these low stakes decisions do accumulate if you make lots of wrong ones, I like to think a little bit about it. Like recruiting is a good example. And top to the right, these are the toughest decisions, and these are the ones that I'm mainly focused on right now. High stakes, irreversible decisions, meaning that you sometimes are betting the whole farm on one decision, and if you get it wrong, you can take it back. A good example of this type of decisions is selling a company, for example. Sorry. I haven't slept much, so caffeine. Yeah, selling a company is a really good example of this because selling a company at the wrong time is super expensive. You sell too early, you leave a lot of value on the table. You sell too late, your valuation is probably not what it could have been a year ago. You leave a lot of money on the table, and you can't take it back. You can't buy the company back. I mean, you could, but it's a bit more expensive. And these are the decisions that I actually like to take my time with. But it's also tricky because the longer you wait, waiting is a risk in itself sometimes. I think that's it for the sort of advice that I thought might be interesting. I hope it was. If not, I can always correct that with the Q&A. Actually, no, there's one more. Sorry. I'll give you one example on which we had a really high-risk situation in my company, NeuroDSP, and actually how we mitigated it. This is our flagship product. It's a hardware product that's won every award you can win in the industry. It's the best-selling, in 6 months became the best-selling product in the industry, and the highest grossing product for any of our retail partners. So it was a huge, huge success. Developing this product took around 50 engineers, 50, and it cost us, I don't know, between 3 and 4 million euros worth of R&D for 4 years. So it was the biggest risk I'm taking in my career. And if you would have just focused on this and just done this product without testing the hypothesis at any time, it would have probably failed. We couldn't have raised the money to develop it to begin with. So actually, one thing we realized is that, okay, this is 4 years worth of R&D for a really big product. Can we actually de-risk it somehow? What we realized is that we can actually take a lot of the software required that this product requires and release it as we make it. We need like thousands of, like hundreds of little software products to run in this product. Can we actually release them one by one? Just as software products while we develop the hardware and everything else. And actually this became a really, really profitable business for us, almost by accident. What this allowed us to do was to start generating revenue from day one, years before this product was ready. Building our reputation for the brand, which was key to actually releasing this product successfully. And using the revenue and the reputation, we could actually raise all the money we needed to release it. So sometimes I found that breaking down really big problems into little chunks that you can actually address very quickly and learn more about the big problem can be very useful. The tricky thing about this and in every business decision is that you can study all you want about cases and how people have fixed problems, but at the end every company is unique. I have things that work really well for me that were catastrophic the next time. So in a way, all you can hope for is to have a really big sort of library of cases and solutions in your head, and then just apply what you think will work best with your unique problem, but always know that you won't get everything right. And I think that's it, actually. Questions? Thank you.
So thank you, Douglas, again for your presentation. Does anyone have any questions regarding his speech and his advices for you guys. There's one.
Yes.
If it's their best time to sell a company, or if it's ever possible to sell?
That's a really good question. What I found is that anytime I don't know what to do, sort of rationally, I actually rely on intuition. I've received offers to sell a company, and it just didn't feel right, and we owned it for a bit more. And I was glad because when the second offer came, maybe a couple of years later, the value was much higher and the fit was much better. And this is what I found also, is that one exercise I like to do is to actually it's called a Fermi approximation, and the concept is that you try to assign a probability value of something that you don't know much about, but you just try to assign a rough, almost arbitrary probability to something. If you don't know, the probability is just 50%, for example. And if you just assume a probability, then you can just sort of see, okay, what is the more likely scenario, or what is the upside and the downside of each possible scenario. And based on that, sometimes you can kind of guess what's the best way. When it comes to selling a company, and actually finding the right time to sell a company is almost impossible, like you need to be very lucky. I think it's just how do you feel about it? Do you still want to keep going? Do you still love what you do every day? Or maybe you are itching to do something else, and maybe the amount of money is good enough. It's so highly personal that I would just rely on gut feeling for that. I have so far, and so far it's worked more often than it hasn't, so good question. Thank you. Yes?
Shareholders' perspective, I own shares, for example, in your company. What would you suggest to someone when, let's say, shares are on the rise and some people are going to hold, don't sell, or you always sell? What are some indicators that can kind of give you the green light? Like, yes, you should hold, or no, you should sell right now, it's not going to go higher. Is there anything actually radical, or is it just intuition again?
That's a really good question. The markets are very interesting because there are so many factors that affect the share value that, I mean, just macroeconomic, geopolitical factors can affect something. I think at the end the reason you own a share is because you believe that the company will generate more money than it is now, and that over the future that share will appreciate. I would say it all relies on how much faith you have in the people leading the company and the company's plans, and also the marketing which the company executes in. But I'm not gonna give trading advice because actually I'm not a really good investor, to be honest. Like, I'm really good at making products and building teams and like kind of like creating the value, but I don't really spend any time like investing or allocating capital outside of my own company, which I understand very well. I understand the industry very well. But if you ask me, should I hold or sell my Tesla shares? I have no idea. Sorry. Yes?
You just spoke now also about creating teams and recruiting people. It is a risk, I believe, that like hiring people and will come back as your responsibility. Do you have any experiences on that? You learned something?
Yes, and actually I think recruiting is one of the things that startup founders have to be extremely good at, or get extremely good at, or hire really good people at. I think a big difference between my first and my second company was just the amount of talent we were able to attract on the second one. Like, whereas in the first one it was just me and a couple of really good engineers. Now we have dozens of world-class engineers, and the kind of things these people can do is like truly magical sometimes. When it comes to recruiting, I think it's very important for you to define what kind of company you want to be, and that sort of what are the values and the principles of the company, which actually are a reflection of the values and the principles of the founders. What I find that you need to then assess is talent fit, skill fit. Are these people, knowledgeable, experienced, capable enough to do what we need them to do, or to figure it out along the way? And do they, as human beings, as people, fit within the culture we're trying to create? Do they live by these principles? Do these principles resonate with them? In my experience, every time that, if you kind of like optimize for these two, culture fit and talent, you're gonna get 99% of the hires right. There'll always be, some error there. And every time we've actually, for example, had we've sort of skipped the culture fit side a couple of times because they were just so talented and so, you know, skilled and had such a reputation for being world class, and every time it's been a fucking disaster actually. So don't skip the. I hope I can swear here. Well, it's too late now, so they're not gonna kick me out. I'm almost done anyway. So yeah, culture fit is as important as talent fit. If somebody's, you know, world class, but we get a bad, you know, gut feeling from talking to the person, we don't hire them. And usually the question I ask is to myself is, would I like to grab a coffee or a drink with this person? Like, am I looking forward to working with this person, having them sitting next to me 10 hours a day for the next 2 years? And if the answer is yes, can't wait, bring them in. If you're not sure, probably not. Yes?
Then you had the longer RDI period that you were building a product. Was there any time that you had to push your team to develop faster?
Oh, yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do it nice enough way?
Something very interesting happens once you get the culture fit right, is that if they believe in the mission of the company as much as you do, basically the reason you start companies was ideally because you have a dream. The company, the product you're trying to build is something that you're obsessed about, that you can't stop thinking about, that you've dreamed about for a long time. What I found is that if you get the culture fit right and these people are very skilled, they love what they do, and they believe the mission, your dream becomes their own. And then actually you need to do very little pushing yourself. If anything, me and my co-founder, we actually push back. We'd send people home sometimes, like, dude, you've been here for 14 hours, go have a beer and hang out with your kids. We more often have to have that conversation than the other one. So yeah, in that sense, we've been very, very fortunate. I think when people truly understand that what they're doing is important and it's very meaningful to them, if you're in a, you know, crisis situation, they will show up on their own. At the most, I think you need to also communicate very effectively how serious the situation is, so they understand that, you know, you need them sort of to put some extra effort, and that the other thing is that actually remind them that their effort can make a difference. That although the situation is very serious, if you all work together and work very hard and communicate well, we can actually make it out and you know, achieve all the dreams that we have. That's often how I've done it. And you know, for this really big product, we had maybe 18 months of, like, I call it a death march, in which very few weekends, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, for 18 months. And it was, you know, 50, 60 of us working that hard. So. And actually, we lost very fast. I think nobody resigned over that period, actually. And to this day, this is, you know, a couple of years later, most of these people are still working with us at a more manageable pace now. Like, the other thing is that this is not the standard mode of operation. You save it for emergencies. But when things sort of get good and people can relax, then you should kind of send them for holidays and bring them back to more manageable hours. That's what yes?
How long did it take for your startup to gain traction?
It was very fast. So for the first one, we went from 0 to, and it was just me in the first one. So from 0 until I could pay myself like a, you know, living wage, maybe 8 months. I was like doing, like, I don't know, 5,000-6,000 euros a month. I got to like 5 million in like 3 years later, a year. And with the second one, we went from 0 to like 60,000 a month in about 6 months. So the first year we actually did 500,000, second year 2.2, and then we tripled all the way to 20 last year, and now we're doing 30. So it's been quite fast. That's the most important slide. Follow me on Instagram if you. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Let's give another round for Dustin. All right, now I want to give the stage to Sara. She'll have a big surprise for you guys. I think you'll be very glad to.
Exactly. Hi, I'm Sara. I'm the leader of the feedback team, and I'd like to thank, of course, Darkglass and our previous speaker, Aslak, for sharing their perspectives, of course, within different fields and how they've been taking risks within business. For me, at least, taking a risk is public speaking, so I feel like you can be pushed in different ways. Thank you. Yeah, so I feel like you've all hopefully learned something about taking risks, not just within your professional lives, but also within like your personal lives, whether it is going after a certain job that you might not feel like you're necessarily qualified for, or opening up your own business. And I feel like you can do it. You just have to put yourself out there as well. And hopefully you guys have been listening to our presentations well enough, maybe, because we're gonna do a wee Kahoot to see how well you've been listening. And if you haven't done a Kahoot, because I can see there are some people that haven't been on the school bench in a bit, let's see how well you do with testing. Not saying you're old, but you know. So if you could get into like groups of 3, because we only have 3 prizes as well, so you can split it between you. Let's figure this out. So if you haven't used Kahoot before, it's Kahoot with a K.com, and then you'll get the code, which is 7552589. Is everyone in already? Can I get a hoot? Is anyone not in the Kahoot? Or is struggling? First question, Aslak's currently the CEO of what company? Wow. Next question. Does Aslak like martial arts? Wow, what a surprise. What was Aslak's first job after being a martial arts teacher? According to Aslak, what are the most important aspects when taking risks? the above. According to Aslak, what makes or breaks a company? Ooh. Aslak's hero, Bruce Lee, states that mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to fill in the blank. Who said redo the mistake? You guys were not listening. You have to redo the mistake to, understand that it was a mistake. Through Aslak's experience, being truly honest and vulnerable is a risk. True or false? Another true or false. Is the potential of failure beneficial in order to improve as an organization, according to Aslak? Well done. What was Aslak's last piece of advice? Always do push-ups before events. Aslak hopes that you are now indeed brave in business. Do you feel brave in business? There are no wrong answers, exactly. Who were our sponsors of our event? Yes, we have Startup School, Dubai Medical Equipment and Qualident. Medical Equipment and Qualident are sponsoring the gifts for you guys if you win. Darkglass founded which companies? If you read our Instagram page, there is not just one but two companies. Well done, everyone. Darkglass Electronics was acquired by which Japanese tech giant? True or false? Douglas has founded and led 5 of the fastest growing tech companies in the music industry. It was 2 of the fastest growing. What is Douglas's main responsibility? Douglas's main advice in business is we had multiple answers here. What aspects are talked about in the decision-making matrix? All are relevant. According to Douglas, the longer you wait or invest, the higher the risks. Last question, you guys. This is the leaderboard so far. Have you learned more about risk-taking? So the podium. It is high. So if we could get high to come on down, the group of high, who is high? Oh. But that's not what I meant.
Maybe.
First place, second place, snowflakes.
Okay. I don't know how, but you can share the calendar, and then one day for each one of you. And okay. So first of all, thank you all for being here. But of course, one more thing I will ask to all of you to do right now is that you can give us your feedback. So if you can scan the QR, it would be good.
It would be nice. I spent a long time doing it. Yesterday. As like final closing remarks, of course, we would really like to thank Douglas and Aslak for joining us today, for sharing their insights. We would of course like to thank our sponsors, for without we wouldn't have coffee and bulla outside or your new advent calendars for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'd also like to thank our entire team for working so hard and diligently over this past month.
So I will ask to all the team to come here. For example, we're gonna start by Feedback, who did the incredible Kahoot and
Incredible.
QR code. So you can come here first.
Yay.
Yeah.
My team.
Then the team that I think has been receiving a lot of messages from all the bars that have all the days have to be there, marketing team. You can come here. Then I would like to okay. Venue team, please, you can come here because you organize all this event. Thank you. And finally, I would like to invite the speakers, which I think is France. I don't know if it's here. Is there? Perfect. I can't see everything. And finally, my assistant, Roman, you can come here too. And Douglas, if you also want to come join us. And of course, thank you all for spending some time with us today. It was a pleasure, and of course, all of you are also students. So I will encourage the people that don't know there's more events coming soon. Just try to follow them and try to go to all of them if it's possible. Thank you so much.
Also, we'd like to thank Haaga-Helia for providing the space for not just us, but all of the events to be hosted at as well. I don't know if there's still some bulla and coffee outside, so go ahead and have the last pieces.
And take the
Thank
tips,
you.
please.